What's up, guys, and welcome to the Outer Rim Vault. The stories surrounding our expanded universe are some of my favorite pieces of Star Wars lore that I greatly enjoy discussing on the channel. For this recording, I bring you another tale pulled from the archives of our Legends universe, about a being who, despite having a prominent role within the Jedi Order, has rarely been acknowledged by the Keepers of the Peace, at least in canon continuity. However, in Legends, there exists another story about this very being and how they will ultimately fall victim to the predatory instincts of his native species, despite finding himself a servant of the light and a member of the Jedi Order, unleashing a terrifying and foreseen threat to the rest of the galaxy. This is the legend of VOLFE KARKKO. The sentient being known as VOLFE KARKKO was a male Jedi Master of the Ansat species. Karkko was born over 1,000 years before the invasion of Naboo. Most of Volfe's career as a Jedi, however, would be lost within the recordings of ancient history, which answers the question as to why we do not see or hear about this fallen Jedi during the time of the Old Republic. Volfe's life began way before he was ever encountered by the Jedi, as the Ansat was already well over 800 years old, a time where the Jedi did not exclusively train children. The training of Karkko made him a powerful Jedi, with Volfe even becoming a master later in his path. With the power Karkko gained, however, his arrogance would grow just the same, and it would be this very arrogance that led Karkko down the path of destruction. The Jedi Council initially feared the training of Karkko, not because of Volfe specifically, but because there were concerns within the Jedi Council regarding the training of an Ansat in the ways of the Force. For you see, my friends, though the Ansari share a human form to an extent and often present themselves in a charming manner, the Ansari people were one of the most dangerous and predatory species in our own galaxy. The Ansari were known to regularly consume the life essence and brain matter of other sentient beings, often devoured by the Ansat like a vampire preying on a human. When a species' only source of food lies with the consumption of other beings, the Council feared that Volfe would not be able to hold himself back from this instinctive need to feed. However, VOLFE KARKKO did not share his Jedi Council's worries, nor he did do anything to lessen their fears. Volfe believed himself above the predatory instincts of his species because he was a Jedi Knight. His pride had blinded him to the fact that he was still an Ansat. Jedi or not, his training could not wipe away the basic instincts of the Ansari species. The Jedi Council feared that Karkko would ultimately succumb to the instinctive dark nature of his people, and unfortunately for the Order, they would be proven right. On that fateful day, Karkko made the decision to indulge in his deepest desires. Volfe finally had a taste of the soup that many Ansari had spoken of. However, for Karkko, this was his first time. He believed he could resist the temptation because he had never tasted the soup before, which led him to succumb to it this one time, his thinking process being that it would be a harmless experience, for Volfe at least. Volfe immediately became addicted to the soup, and now with his Jedi training, Karkko became the ultimate hunter amongst his people. Being known as the Dark Dreamer, VOLFE KARKKO devoured the brain matter of several sentient beings, including members of his own Jedi Order, a time where perhaps not even the halls of the Jedi's most sacred temple were safe, as one of their own took to himself to turn these very halls into his own hunting ground. VOLFE KARKKO fell to the dark side, believing he could single-handedly conquer the galaxy. Karkko's bloodlust provoked action from the Jedi Council, and they pursued the Ansat to the world of Kifex. An all-out brawl ensued, with Volfe taking on the entire Jedi Council, a battle that Karkko would ultimately lose. The Jedi Council made the decision to spare Volfe's life and sentence the Ansat to a stasis prison. Karkko was left motionless, though he remained conscious, an act that was done on purpose by the Jedi, as the Jedi believed they could sway Karkko back to the light if he was left to ponder the nature of his actions. Karkko's isolation did nothing to temper his hatred, and spent the next few centuries plotting the downfall of the Jedi Order within the confines of his stasis prison. The building around Volfe's prison was sealed off to the rest of the general population and could only be accessed by Jedi. However, this did not stop Karkko, who through his machinations and conscious power in the Force was able to call on the minds of several Ansari, luring them to his prison on Kifex. Though only Jedi could access the structure from the outside, the Ansari still managed to infiltrate the building and reach Karkko. VOLFE fed on the life essence of these Ansari, corrupting them with his power as well. It was through this feeding that VOLFE KARKKO regained his strength once more. The Dark Jedi now possessed an army of feral Ansat slaves, all bound to his will, and now all that was left was his freedom from imprisonment, and his chance would come in the year 30 BBY. About 2 years after the Naboo crisis had taken place, an amnesia-driven Jedi Padawan by the name of Aayla Secura arrived on the world of Kifex. Though Secura had temporarily lost her memories, a vivid one still remained within the dark corners of Aayla's mind, and this was the murder of her uncle by the hand of her own Jedi Master, Quinlan Vos. It was this memory that KARKKO toyed with relentlessly. Sensing Aayla's anger at Vos and desire for revenge, KARKKO persuaded her to release him from his stasis prison. VOLFE initially intended to feed on Aayla herself, as it had been over 1,000 years since he had drank the soup of another Jedi. However, he restrained himself and instead took Aayla on as his dark apprentice. Once VOLFE was freed, he began to prepare his escape from Kifex, using his army of slaves to attack a nearby security facility, leaving no survivors. This course of action attracted the attention of the ruler of Kifex, Shaif Tinte Vos, who contacted the Jedi Council and requested that her nephew Quinlan Vos be the one to investigate the recent disaster. The Jedi were still unaware of KARKKO's escape, being alerted by the independent activation of the holocron containing the legend of VOLFE, symbolizing KARKKO's release from stasis, and Quinlan Vos, who had already been dispatched to Kifex along with his master Thom and the Vecnoid Jedi Master Zhao. They were all heading directly for VOLFE's trap. The three Jedi Masters fought through several waves of Ansari warriors under KARKKO's control, one of which was led by Aayla Secura, VOLFE's apprentice and soon to be his queen, as KARKKO had planned to escape Kifex with Secura by his side. Thankfully though, he would not get the chance to enact his plot. Quinlan Vos made his way towards KARKKO's prison, which had now been proclaimed as his throne. While the other Jedi engaged the Ansari, Quinlan Vos and VOLFE KARKKO engaged in a vicious lightsaber duel. Vos' survival versus KARKKO's freedom. The two engaged each other with extraordinary feats in the Force, as KARKKO often would disappear seemingly out of thin air and would conjure illusions meant to throw Vos off his inner balance. KARKKO's onslaught towards Vos was halted as Quinlan unleashed a torrent of Force lightning towards the Dark Jedi, something which greatly surprised KARKKO but only served to increase his rage. Retaliation from KARKKO's own Force lightning would shortly come, which incapacitated Vos, leaving him vulnerable to VOLFE's mental onslaught. As VOLFE KARKKO prepared to feed on the mind and essence of Quinlan Vos, he was blinded to the fact that there were still other Jedi present on the planet, one of which was Jedi Master Tra Sa, the Jedi Watchman of Kifex, whose combined strength in the Force projected to an incapacitated Quinlan being able to overpower VOLFE's mental abilities, which provoked KARKKO to draw on his lightsaber. However, the Jedi Master Quinlan Vos and native to the planet of Kifex would put an end to KARKKO's reign of terror, cutting him in two. VOLFE KARKKO's legacy would unfortunately serve in the downfall of another Ansat Jedi by the name of Nikos Tyrese, when the Sith Lord Count Dooku, ironically a fallen Jedi himself, came into the possession of one of VOLFE's Sith holocrons. The Ansat was tempted by Dooku's promise of power and renounced the Jedi Order, as KARKKO had done before him. And with that, we have reached the end, my friends in the Force. However, I would like to know where all of you stand with the character of VOLFE KARKKO. Personally, I found this being unfit to ever be a Jedi in the first place, given his arrogance and secret fascination with the dark side, which at one point he even claimed that his people had come to know the first Dark Lords of the Sith, a claim that had never been actually confirmed and possibly fabricated knowing KARKKO. Thank you for watching today's video, my friends. Be safe and may the Force be with you, always.